Greetings everyone, and I'm really glad to see you all today at another episode of Unscripted ASMR stuff. And today I wanted to talk about the most optimistic fictional universe ever made by a man, and that is Warhammer 40k. And if you say, how in the hell is that optimistic? I'll tell you. When you start to play Warhammer or read any books related to that universe, you quickly realize how good you might actually live in the modern Earth. And to help me with that, I'll have my little fellow. This is a Chaos Lord. Yeah, and despite he's very old, he's like more than 10 years old. He doesn't have a name yet, so if you have any cool names, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I might actually name him Fleximus Smashlord and write it on his base. So yeah, I'll place it him here on the mic. And for this special occasion, I have a special hot beverage for you. And today, for the Warhammer talk, I present you a cup of blood. Cheers. But actually this is a Czerwona Kalina, which is a red viburnum. And you ask me, what the hell is a red viburnum? It's a really cool berries, really popular in Ukraine. They are sweet, but with just a tiny amount of bitterness, and they are really beneficial for your health and tasty, of course. So this is basically just a viburnum jam with a hot water. This one is for you, and I have another cup for myself. Might sip occasionally, or maybe not. So yeah, today I have a story for you how I joined the tabletop Warhammer club and practically destroyed it accidentally. Yeah. So back in the days, maybe that was like 10 years ago, or no, even more maybe, there was a cool game many of you might remember, Warhammer Dawn of War. It has a lot of really cool characters, really meme-like phrases. Yeah, so those of you who remember probably will understand more than others can possibly know. And for those of you who's not into Warhammer, maybe this nerd speech will be boring enough for you to fall asleep to. Yeah, so I loved Dawn of War so much that I completed the campaign for every faction there was. My least favorite was Tau and Eldars. Nothing personal, but I don't know, that's just not my style. And the most favorite were Chaos Marines and Imperial Guard. So I loved this game so much that it was just a matter of time until I started searching online if there's anything else. And how mind blown I was when I found out that it was a really old franchise and there was a tabletop game. I was amazed by these photos of people playing on their tables with this handcrafted terrain, the landscape, and build tiny buildings, tiny soldiers, these miniatures, so cute. And I thought to myself, if there is a Warhammer club in Ukraine, I gotta find it and try it. And lucky for me, I found in the social media a Warhammer club in my city. There was about 1,000 of people, maybe. So I decided to join them. But since Warhammer looks very serious, it's a serious hobby for serious people, I just couldn't allow myself to go unprepared without any army and disappoint everyone and made them think that I'm just a chick who came to wink at the boys. So I decided that first of all I'll buy an army and paint it, and only then I'll go to the club. And I really wanted to make a Night Lords. These are basically the emo boys of the Warhammer. For those of you who don't know, it's a chaos space marines who have this really goth look for them. They have this long black hair and, you know, the gothic aesthetics like bat wings decoration and skulls and all that stuff. But the club info stated that there was already a player with Night Lord's army, and it would be really stupid of me to make just a copycat of him. So I decided to pick my second favorite legion, World Eaters. These are basically just the Ooga Booga guys who don't really care about some goals, and they just destroy everything in their way, trying to deliver as many blood and skulls to their bloody god Khorne as possible. So I bought a starter pack since I knew nothing about the table game yet, and I was so impatient I didn't want to read the rulebook. I bought this big box, and a few next months I spent painting. I had this really overpriced paints from Games Workshop related. I can't remember the name of, but you know what I'm talking about. I had these primers and stuff, and I was really thorough about painting. I tried to capture every detail. Like, I wanted my army to be the prettiest and most detailed. However, the base of the ground under his feet is still unfinished. Yeah. So the basic starter pack included some Space Marines, some Chaos Cultists. They were all different. Each one had his own or her own personality. Really fun to paint them. They had, I believe, some armored vehicle and a commander who had a lot of spare parts, so you could pick like a different outfit for him, different kind of weapon. And I decided mine will be with the claws, like he's a real savage, and or maybe he just like very fabulous manicure. And while I was painting this army, I accidentally get a gift from Chaos. A drop of that really toxic glue got into my eye when accidentally just two details I was trying to glue together, they sprang and fly to my eye, and I had to go to the ER, and it was really awkward to explain how that happened. But anyway, I painted my army. I was also very inspired because at the very same moment I read a few books in this universe, and if you really like horror stories with all the gory details, but where the main characters will be the maniac himself, you might really enjoy A Night Lord by Simon Spurrier. I believe. Yeah. And if you're not into this, you know, more power fantasy and you want something more smart, you may can say that book wasn't smart, but the next one is a really cool one. It was a series of books about Inquisitor Eisenhorn and his apprentice, let's say Ravenar. It's like James Bond in the world of Warhammer. So if you ever wanted to try something but you feel like overpowered buff man is not really your thing, then yeah, The Adventures of the Inquisitor is a really clever and interesting book that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So yeah, and there's also a Horus Heresy cycle, but I only finished the first 5 books because I barely finished Fulgrim. For those of you who read this book, they know what I'm talking about. This one is for people with a really strong stomach, and for those of you who doesn't know, I envy you. You're really lucky people, and probably you have a good healthy sleep. because when you read that book and you have a rich, lively imagination, that's not the best combo. Anyway, I painted my army. I contacted the club, and they were very happy to have another player. They even agreed to arrange a small battle in my very first visit. Some guy volunteered. He made a really small roster to fit my little army. So when I came to the club, there was kind of, let's call him administrator, the guy who was in charge of everything. And when I started unpacking my minis and showing how bright they were, with this bright, nice armor with golden details, and I even tried to make some nice details like bullet damage, or maybe you can see on the heads of his enemies. Come on, focus. There are actual alien blood flowing and all that stuff. So yeah, I was really proud, actually. I thought my army might not be the best in the world, but for a beginner, it's not half bad. And the admin was so happy. He was like, ooh, finally there's somebody with a painted army. But no one else was really happy for me. And they had these grim looks on their faces, all the other players. And soon I realized why. When other guys began to unpack their miniatures, the guy who played against me and some dudes who were playing on another table next to us, I realized that despite they played like for several years already at that moment, no one except the administrator almost had a completely painted army, and not just they had not painted minis, they were armless, headless. Sometimes instead of troops, when they didn't have the necessary miniatures of characters, they just used bottle caps and empty character bases, like just this little round thinges with nothing on them, but that's supposed to be like a character. And instead of tanks, they had a cardboard boxes from a grocery store, cheap tea. So yeah, boy, I was disappointed, but I thought, who am I to judge? Let's at least enjoy what we can have here. So yeah, but I was a little disappointed because I like spent all my money on the minis, and still my army wasn't powerful enough because, you know, Games Workshop minis are so overpriced. Later I found out that there was some shop online in Ukraine that sold suspiciously cheap miniatures. And that shop lately was closed. I believe they sold some unlicensed copies and they were sued, maybe. So yeah, and I thought, okay, if I cannot afford an aircraft or a tank, that, okay, I just have a small army, I'll deal with that. But the other guys didn't sweat about it, and they just picked like some boxes, cans, teacups, all that kind of stuff. So basically you just kind of buy a pack of waffles in a nearby supermarket and say it's a heavy tank or a battle mecha. Yeah. But anyway, the playing was really fun, although most of the time I just looked through the rule book on the go. Can say I was well prepared, but it was still really cool. It was a completely new experience to me, to the person who used to computer games, and then you had to measure everything by your hand, and like you have this little templates for the explosions, like where it will land and will it affect your troops or not. And the game was really cool, but after a few, and by the way, the guy with Night Lords, my favorite Night Lords, he didn't just had them painted. Actually, it was just a kid who had maybe a few unfinished minis. So yeah, basically I could just pick that army too. But I never regretted it. I love my chaotic boys. And I find their character, Karn the Betrayer, really, I can't say fun, but he's a real something. And for those of you who don't know, it's a dude who loved this blood god so much, and he wanted to contribute as many blood and skulls to his beloved deity as possible. So when his brothers in arms refused to go to battle at some moment, he just slaughtered them all, because it doesn't really matter who will be slaughtered. The only thing that mattered to him is to deliver that ultra violence to his favorite god. Yeah, and after some time, the club administrator suddenly said, "Look, this neophyte came with a completely painted army, which means you can do that too. So I give you boys like a few months, and after that time, no tea boxes on the battlefield are allowed. No headless or armless characters." Because like for many years, some people just couldn't decide, do they want to place an arm with a sword, or do they want to place an arm with a machine gun, for example, bolter. And everyone in the club was so offended by that it caused a real riot. The rules actually wasn't that strict. The administration said that if you cannot afford to buy a big minis, at least you can make them like DIY. Make a paper craft or something that will at least resemble the tank or the aircraft, painted in the appropriate colors, so it won't look just as ugly as some Lipton tea on the battlefield. And I thought, wow, I can just literally find templates online and I can make mechas, I can make aircraft, I can make tanks. This will be amazing. Our battlefields will look so cool. But everyone else was really, most of the people were really offended by that. They said that they cannot tolerate this abuse of their right to play with bottle caps. And the club basically split in two parts. Some people remained in the club and continued to play, and the other people just left the club and made their own club somewhere at home, where they could, like use any kitchenware or anything found at home as a battle unit without any restrictions. And I really enjoyed playing the tabletop Warhammer 40k until with time people focused more on other games and they played 40k less and less. So eventually at some point in my life I needed money, so I sold my army, and this little fella was the only one I couldn't say goodbye to. So yeah, maybe once again I will buy some minis and paint them. But like they are really overpriced, so that will not be happening anytime soon. Until that, probably I'll just find my old CD with the Dawn of War and play it again to enjoy all the cool catchphrases like "Damnation, where is our support?" Yeah. And this will be all. No moral of this story. This was kind of random, but I was really glad to share this experience with you. Let me know if you played tabletop Warhammer. Let me know if you think it's worth coming back to playing the tabletop game. And of course, let me know what cool name can I give to this serious guy. I wish you the very sweetest dreams if you are going to sleep. And if not, I wish you the very pleasant and amazing day. And I'll see you all very soon in another roleplay video.